All right, cool. Yeah, and obviously you guys can speak up if you want to add something. But all right, so today was, exceptional day in the end, right? I got chopped up personally, trying to trade from fucking Target, or Target's store. Um, and it was just kind of dumb, but it also was a bunch of fake outs. So what I want to do first before we get into too much detail is just go over these. Let's take a look at SPY, because what we're seeing here, there's a couple things, right? These are the weekly supply zones, obviously, supply and demand, but it's the weekly time frame. I know I posted this before, but let's just walk through it real quick so we have an idea of what's going on, right? I mean, we had this breakout down here, massive push up through the supply, but that was a huge move, last week. Pushed us up, all the way to the main supply, tagged it and pulled back, got a bearish close. Not surprising, right? And this is just SPY, obviously. You could look at ES, and the issue with ES and NQ, though, of course, is that their contracts rolled and they immediately, gained 40 points or 50 points, whatever it was. So the that kind of pushed everything up over the top. But with SPY, right, we have the bearish weekly close. Now, again, it's a bearish signal, but you have to look at the context of the markets, right? SPY is not the only thing, out there. Obviously, tech is quite big, right? And what did tech do last week? It got a bullish close above. So that's why when I talked about the weekly outlook, kind of like what I was looking for is that, we would see a push up, which we got, and then we got this pullback, yesterday, obviously. And I mean, if you look at the cues, right? I know this is a weekly chart. We'll zoom in here in a minute, but I want, you guys really should be looking at this throughout the week. I mean, I keep it up, I kind of stare at it, get an idea of what's what, because all we did on the cues is just come back and retest, right? I mean, we came back and retested, this old supply, the liquidity, and that is a long situation, right? It's one of the reasons I got long QQQ. What was it? Yeah, yesterday afternoon before close. I posted that, I don't know, whatever time it was. It was definitely the afternoon, but it was after we kind of based out, and it made sense. Like, you know, it's just a retest, right? On this. So the way I like to look at this is that, I think QQQ is going to be the support, right? Um, SPY, right? SPY is going to be the resistance. It's the simplest way to think about it, I guess. You literally have, like the SPY is coming up, the S&P SPX is coming up against, the ceiling. It doesn't have that breakout effect yet. We haven't gotten that breakout yet. And what I mean by that is we haven't gotten the bullish weekly, we haven't gotten a weekly close over the last supply like we saw on QQQ. So it's kind of like, hey, this kind of tops out. Well, what did we do, right? SPY pushed up over and then it pulled back down, and it even looked, even better, I guess you could say, intra week before today. I'll show you the monthly. That's what these, just so you guys can see it. That's what, the orange is, the orange dotted lines here. I just want to have it on the chart so I know like kind of where we're at. But this is the monthly supply as well. So, one of the things when we closed November going into December, we never tested the supply. Now we didn't back here either, right? And we fell off, but the market is different right now, right? Things are different. This is before the Fed, obviously, but we all knew that the Fed was losing control. That's something that we kind of joked about for a while. So, but anyways, my point being, you are in this is just massive supply. It's all-time highs, but as we zoom down in, we can start to get these signals. So what are we looking for moving forward? And I am going to talk about IWM because that's like the third piece of the puzzle. So, with SPY, what I really want to see is, I mean, for a bullish thesis, I really want to see a close over 475, a weekly close above this supply. The Qs at that point would be above, and IWM would most likely be closing above that 200 level that we'll look at here in a minute. And that would give us full signals across the board. We already know the Dow broke into all-time highs, right? Like that was before the contracts rolled. So it's definitely something you know, this is kind of the lagging, right? It's the S&P. It makes sense. It has a lot of these other companies, but and it is interesting to see that Nike cut guidance, FedEx cut guidance, and what was the other one? There's another big one that cut guidance and fucking crashed after their earnings recently. So, and it's like, okay, so everything is not perfect, picture perfect going maybe out 6 to 12 months. So there's a lot of thought process here that like, are we going to break out above? I think there's a lot of money ready to come into the markets, and it already is. Like this, obviously this move last week and into this week, still fucking huge, but that could switch quickly. So going in at the end of this week, we want to watch this weekly close. Big time on SPY, but also on QQQ, right? If we close back inside of this supply, that'll tell us something. We'll learn something, right? If we close underneath this supply, we'll know that, hey, it's probably going to lean more bearish going into the end of the year. Not that we won't get a big push, but I expect it to get sold off. If we close this week bullish, Q stay up over this, you get SPY at least into the zone, right? SPY needs to at least close inside of the supply zone. If we close under 472.06, like I'll expect a push up, but I'll expect a sell off, right? Because like that'll just be the retest for the drop, because that'll be 2 weeks, right, of bearish closes if we close this week under 472.06. So we want to close at least inside the zone, preferably over it. Do watch, obviously all-time highs on SPY, 479.98. That is an intraday high. That I would expect to be a fucking ceiling, so you could just say 480, obviously. Pretty much 480. So, all right, so let's look at IWM. It was looking a little rough there at first. I mean, we had this massive move, right? And what did we do? We came right up to supply. This is the same level that we were shorting fucking a year ago, it feels like, right? When was that? Yeah, I mean, that was last January, shorting off of the supply. I mean, we did it. I remember doing it at least, 3 separate like sections, months, I guess. Yeah, watching this fucking 200 level and the 192. Anyway, so we got through that, right? We got a big close up inside, obviously massive push. This is something, and honestly, I haven't been trading IWM a ton, but this is important, right? It goes obviously with the strategy that that I teach here, that that kind of guides us with the price action. And it's just these weekly closes. All right. So this, I assume people were watching the recording. Not everybody's going to know exactly what, these are all weekly zones, obviously. And this would have been your supply here, right? So once you got this bullish close above supply, and yes, this was the old demand. Okay. So this is a bearish candle. That was the old demand zone, but it's still worth knowing about because it was a massive support area, big time buyers, right? Had the 200-day SMA kind of weaving inside of it. Once we got that breakdown, it was over, right? That's when we really sank on the small caps. My point being, we pushed back up. Yeah, you tested this liquidity zone again, but the signal came from this close because this is the supply, right? This is the supply zone, and then this is the supply zone. So this zone up here, right, is the main. This would have been a demand zone. So technically I should have the switch to dotted lines. I'm not going to do it right now just because I don't want to fucking confuse and get sidetracked. But my point is that this was the supply zone here. And then it was this big one up here, because if you look, this bullish candle, the next one in line, right? I mean, granted, yeah, it didn't technically test that 192.15. Like it was, what was the high on that? The high was 191.86, but it's close enough, right? Like that's testing that liquidity. So, it leaves this huge gap. And once we got that close above, look what happened. We had a week of, a bullish close that following week after, but came down and retested that old supply as liquidity, got the confirmation bullish close, right? What happened to the next week? Right? Opened down a little bit, pulled back, didn't quite test that zone perfectly, but got close enough. Perfect retest. I mean, you have 2 chances for entries. Obviously this would be a longer swing if you're going to hold it through this move, but I mean, just perfect signals. Bullish close, bullish hold above with retest, big push up, right? And this, I mean, look at where this went. I don't know if you guys can see this, but This candle right here, this big push up, this is why it's important to keep the old demand zone here, right? And just know where it's at. I mean, look what it top ticked it that week. That was the week of what? Last week in November. So, I mean, it literally, I don't know if you guys can see it or not, but I don't want to hover over it, but it literally, the top of that candle is right at the top of the zone. And it makes sense, right? Now, we don't get a signal from that, right? Our signal is the bullish close down here with retests and big pushes up. The next supply is up here, but this is an intermediate zone. So when we hit here, you know, I mean, I wouldn't have been holding, maybe if I had like leaps or longer swings or commons, you know, I would probably hold them, but I wouldn't have held any position anyways. I would have been out after this big move that week, you know. But once again, you don't need to trade every week. So you trade this big week going up, right? Then you take this week off and you let it give you the signal. Gave us a nice signal above. Granted, yes, this is not a supply zone, but it got above the level that we're watching, right? And what does it do? It comes right back down, you know, all but retest this perfectly. And then we get the fucking rocket ship and it right on up, right? So, you know, it's a little side note. Obviously, that's past price action, but that is, it's just too perfect, you know. And I didn't catch all of this along the way. You know, I wasn't paying enough attention to IWM. You know, I see this shit in hindsight. Of course, it pops right out, and it's like, my God. But it is a great lesson because that's what you want to identify, right? And you got to remember, it's going to look like this. You know what I mean? It's going to look like this, where I tested that old demand and it closed under, but look, this is my actual supply, so I got the bullish signal, right? That's what it's going to look like. But you can anticipate the fact that it could potentially end up looking something like this. Maybe not quite as bullish all the time, but you know, I mean, you see it in a lot of instances. So, and that's the core of the strategy, right? Whether it's daily, hourly, fucking 5 minute. Although I don't even follow. Honestly, I just follow price on the 5 minutes. I do use 5 minute levels, but the hourly and the fucking daily zones and the 4 hour they've been, you know, and the weekly have been mint. So, all right. So what are we looking for on IWM? Pretty straightforward. We want to see a close above, you know, 236. Now, I would say 205 to 207 on IWM is still a very key area, right? I mean, look at this. This was like the first, I mean, that was support forever, right? That was, what was that? Yeah, it was 2021. This is when fucking IWM went flat, basically. So it was the beginning of 2021 all the way through to, oh yeah, it was a whole year, right? Yeah, so the beginning of 2022. So it was just this whole year of just fucking flatness. I mean, some pushes, but nothing spectacular. So we're getting back, you know, we are going to have to watch that 207. But again, our first hurdle here, the you know, the next thing to watch for is a close above this supply zone, this big ass fucking supply zone. And you know, this is a very important zone because we have rejected it here multiple times. I mean, this is damn near a rejection. This is definitely a rejection. You even got a little push up here. It's getting close, sold off, pushed into it, sold the fuck off. Here we are again, right? Keep in mind that this could 100% play out again to the downside. I don't think that's what's going to happen because, you know, I do think that the Fed has kind of lost control, or at least that's the way they're coming across now, right? And, you know, the idea of like, hey, they're said they're going to cut rates, you know, that's the plan, right? A whole bunch of if, ands, or buts afterwards. But at the end of the day, like that's what Powell said, and he's the man. And, you know, and we shot up. So that's one of the things I want to talk about in the coming weeks is that as, you know, as we get up to like the next Fed situation, having patience and just letting, because at this point, the market is reactionary, right? If we break into all-time highs and we start, you know, an uptrend, anything, if Powell comes out and says, you know what, I can't cut rates, like we have to, like inflation's coming back, it's bad, you know, the market's going to tank, right? We can anticipate this and just play those stupid moves, like just play the roller coaster, even just with swings, you know, some commons or swings, whatever. We can still intraday, day trade, fucking tear it up. But you know, that's something, and obviously it's similar to what we have been doing, but I will say that there's less emphasis on the data now, right? Like data still will move stuff. It's still like you get a good GDP, that's awesome, right? Like it's there's, you know, it's not that the data is insignificant, but the reality is that, you know, the data is not, I mean, we see it, right? CPI comes out and it's like, market goes up anyways, you know, or you know, it's just like the numbers are so fucking loose now anyways, the way they report a lot of this shit. It just doesn't I don't know. It doesn't hold the same weight. And it makes sense because really, if the Fed's, Powell comes out and says, hey, we're looking at 3 rate cuts coming in the next year, a year and a half or whatever it ends up actually being, that's huge, right? That's all that matters. So, and there's more. We could look at bonds, all that shit. But what I want to focus on with IWM is the potential to the upside, right? I mean, if we get this weekly close above, I want to start looking for, longer term positions and, probably within some of these specific names, small caps, although I don't want to go chasing something that's ripped, 40% off the lows. You know what I mean? Like there's some massive moves that have happened. And I mean, you can day trade them and whatnot, but I don't, I want to find something that hasn't have that huge move, but even just playing IWM, whatever, I'm thinking about dumping some cash into shares, just get some commons of some of these things and just have it in the background if we start getting these signals. So we'll go down that road when we get there. But big level here. Obviously, this was the original support. It's kind of what we broke through and retested. So again, that's that 205.56. Hopefully you guys understand like why that's there. And I mean, look, it lines up with the supply. Like this is the supply zone. It just, matches this, right? Of course, it's all fractal. It's all related to the last previous price action, as far as the dominant candle where the supply and demand is. So, and that's why, events are great. You have to have an event to like move the market, but at the same time, like, where's it going to go? All the details don't matter what the event is, right? It's all on the chart. Price points the way almost every fucking time. So let's get into the sell-off yesterday and why I've been bullish into, today and in the future. All right. This is it. So massive, you read tweets, you read the newspapers, you watch the news, it's 0DT mayhem. They lost $600 trillion or whatever the fuck it was, gave back 5 or what was it? I don't know, however many days, right? I guess I can look here. Of price in this one candle, right? Well, what did we do? All we did is come back to the 9 EMA on the daily. I mean, this is as simple as it gets. ES, NQ, fucking pulled back, almost touched the 9 EMA. This one didn't get quite as close on NQ, but whatever. It had daily demand right here. That is a huge indicator, right? Indication that this is just a pullback. I mean, fuck, we didn't even get back, barely halfway back to the EM. I mean, yeah, we're under the week's open. I think that was what here? Previous, or where is it? Thursday, Friday. Right, yeah. So Friday closed here, I guess. So that was your that's where you're getting your EMs, right? Plus minus off this level. Bottom line is that, it's like we got below that, but it's, I mean, fuck, you got the EM way down here. I guess my thought is that I read the shit, and it's not just on X, right, on Twitter, but I see it in the news and like our articles that fucking get sent to my email in spam amounts, it seems like. And I sign up for this shit for some reason, but man, when I don't read them for 2 weeks, I'm like, God, this is a bunch of crap. These articles that I get. But anyways, that's all this was. This was a pullback, and it's important to not get caught up in the fear. Now, this is clear as day, you guys. And this is why even when I'm not around, you gotta put the time in, or ask the questions, whatever, to figure out like, where's my supply at? I mean, this is, I don't know if you guys can see it. This is all-time highs, right? This is this is the highest bullish closing candle out of ever on SPX, obviously, because this is all-time highs, but just in this area, right? This is the supply zone, daily supply, right? Next one down was this guy, and it's like, okay, well, what did we do? Well, we fucking literally ran up and hit, I mean, to a T. I mean, what was the high on that? The high was 47.78.01. And this is 47.78.14. So you were 13 cents off from actually touching the technical supply. I mean, it's a perfect test, and you had the fucking weekly EM. So here's the trick, right? And this is something that I wasn't at my desk, or I probably would have talked to you guys more about it. We had an hourly close over I'll zoom this in. This was an hourly close, right? Underneath, right? This was the 10:30. This closed at or this is the 11:30 a.m. candle, because SPX spot, right, trades on the half hour, obviously. And then we had, another, we had 2 hourly closes, but we hit the supply and pulled back pretty hard. That was not the signal though, right? It's when we broke back through this. And anything once we broke 47.70, right, where this support from the previous 3 hours is, right? I mean, I hope that it's easy to see this in hindsight. In real time, it's tough. I get, I totally get it. And I miss shit all the time, but I do want to really emphasize that this is what everybody should have been looking for, right? Like that's, if that dotted line, that's your obvious support here, right? Once we broke through the EM. That's I mean, you could go short there, right? But I mean, it's another 3 points. But when we broke through this, it was bad news bears. And the interesting thing is if you look at this hourly, and I know this is SPX spot, I don't chart this that much, but this is your hourly demand, right? So if you're falling in price is falling here, you're looking for the dominant, the lowest bearish closing candle in the area of price action, right? The next one down would be down here. So this is the lowest closing bearish. And once you snap lines to that and make a zone out of the body of that candle, you can see how everything respected that, right? Like it's a confirmed demand zone. Well, what did we do? We fell down here, right? This was what, the 130 candle, and we closed here. We never touched it. It's the same idea of when we're pushing up and it's like, hey, we're getting close. That's why I was saying, like with coin, I'm like, hey, coin, it has weekly supply above, but it doesn't seem to want to push into it, right? Like it's still far enough away that if we just close here, like I'm still bullish coin. Similar, same idea here. Like we push down, we're not into that hourly demand yet, but man, shit just looked rough, right? So that was the signal to go short. Now, I would not have said, I would not have put any money on a bet that it's like, hey, it's going to go right down to the 9 EMA because that's a big fucking move. There's, there are other levels here that it could bounce at, but it doesn't matter, right? Because you catch it short, even if you take profits as it pushes into, say 47, 60, even 47.50, thinking, hey, it's going to be a bounce down here. You let your runners run, right? And I mean, that was the name of the game. I mean, it was just straight down. You wouldn't even have done shit. It just paid. I wish I had been at my desk and fucking like paying attention. I caught some of this, but I would have loaded the fuck up. But doesn't matter. Still had a good week, but that is just huge. And it happened so fast. And it's like, hey, I'm bullish if this keeps pushing up, but you guys, there's always two answers, right? I mean, it's either going to go up or it's going to go down. And it's either one is just as right as the other until the moment happens, right? When the decision is made. And I think that's something that's really key. Like, don't get caught up in the narrative. Like we get up here to the supply, makes sense, right? We have weekly EM, we're starting to stall out, super extended chart on the long term, and you hit the all-time high daily supply and you start to fall back down. These are 15-minute candles here, guys. I mean, look at this. You have your demand here, right? It's the hourly support. It's also showing up on the 15-minute, right? It would show up on the 5-minute. As soon as you get this break under the EM and a retest and drop like this, your spidey sensors should be tingling. Okay. And, you have 15 minutes to really get in and just kind of take some of that action. If you're watching the markets, and if you missed most of it or all of it, doesn't fucking matter. But it is, it is something that's, you see this panic or this talk like of, oh, the zero DT, it's not even right. Like it didn't make sense what they're saying. Like there's a lot of people who've come out and talked about it now, but it's like, it's not, the volume wasn't there in the zero DTs, the positioning, it happened so fast. Like obviously zero DTs are driving price action, but it's not like it was some faulty, way of handling that. So, oh, fucking Kim skipping. Lovely. All right. Not to get too sidetracked here, but the bottom line is that is a massive move, emotional. I mean, even if you caught the win, right? Much less if you got got the rug pulled on you. Although stops are so important, like just, this market. So this is the thing. Like, I don't know. Like, I think a lot of people, and I know like Tommy and SJ, you guys are here listening live. Like, obviously you guys know you have more experience. Like we've watched a lot of these crazy moves, but even if someone's listening to the recording, you do get the feeling for the market, and the market, it's toppy, but it's not it's not like fake. I feel like, like there is money on the side. There's money out there. I hate to say even money on the sidelines, because what does that mean, right? But it's not like liquidity has dried up. You have the Fed acting, on a potential pivot. They basically come out and said, they have pivoted. They haven't cut rates yet, and that could lead to a whole negative, but it doesn't matter, right? That's not the point. Like, the thing is, the market is not, it just doesn't feel like we're rolling over here. Like, we had so many chances to drop, you guys. I won't spend too much time rambling on this, but we had so many chances here to get fucking rejected. I mean, the Qs could have closed. I mean, the fact that the Qs closed over the last weekly supply is a huge signal, right? I mean, just that the market is extremely bullish. And yeah, it's the, Magnificent Seven, but it's not, right? There's a lot of things that have been running, obviously. But it doesn't matter. Like, it is the market, right? It's the majority of the market, as far as what we trade goes. So the bottom line is that, like, that's a huge signal. Yeah, SPY is lagging, and that is, that's the conundrum. So we have to see what happens. So again, remember, you guys, QQQ is going to be your support, right? So, like, if we pull back like we did, we retested this 403.99. Right now, if we break lower, let's just say, right, even if we push up and then we break lower, I would say, okay, if we break through this 403.99 or 404, and and even 400, I would expect 395, really 396 to hold. I'd look for the bottom of the zone to get retested. This will be the support, right? SPY is our resistance. It's where the selling's going to happen. This should help mark the top, and that's why if we get a push up to 480, I wouldn't, you can leave runners on. That is, scaling is huge. So definitely an important factor in just managing this crazy ass market, because you got to be able to lock in gains. I mean, we did it today, right? Or I typed, I texted a ton about it. I had multiple contracts, but those 30s that I was tracking and posting, I had the 40s, I had the 50s for a little while, and some of them I got smoked on, right? I got stopped out, and it's just, some of them I held. I bought Fridays in the morning. I finally, like, I tried 2 0 DTs early in the morning, and it literally it went the other way, and it bounced and went the other way, and I was on the wrong side of the market. So I was like, fuck it, I'm just buying the Friday expiration calls. Those obviously worked out really well. I still have a couple of them. I still have I don't know. I think I have like 4 contracts of those left. But my point is that um I'm losing my train of thought here. I guess the whole thing with the market shift and attitude, I really want to get this across, is that, the market doesn't feel that way. And it's shitty to say that, if you don't understand it, but the market feels like it could move higher, but we are on thin ice. So you have to be smart, right? We have to, and the only way to really, for me to trade this is to buy the dips, right? That makes sense. I don't mind if I get stopped out. No fear of that. If I get stopped out, so be it, right? Just manage position size, but buy the dips and then let some runners run. Even if you buy 2 contracts, 3 contracts, sell 1, sell 2, leave 1 on, with a tight stop. And if you get stopped out, no big deal. But the thing is, this thing could run. We could see a big push up to 480 on SPY. I mean, that's, it's fucking SPX will have a field day with that shit. So, all right, so let's look at let's look at some of these. I mean, I hope you guys have the 9 EMA on this. Let's look at the daily zone. I know I posted these charts, so I don't want to ramble and repeat, I guess, too much, but it's basically what's been going on with my mind. I mean, I talked about this when we pulled back. It's like, NQ pulled right back to daily demand. I mean, this is a clear and cut, indecisive, right? You see this, right? It's like a fucking doji, daily candle here, bearish doji or whatever, almost equal sided wicks, and the dominant bearish candle. I mean, it is demand, and it got retested, and we closed above. Now, we didn't actually get the retest, which is, funny, but then again, it's futures, so fuck it. We opened and we just kept going up, and that's fucking great. I actually still have some longs on with this. My stop is under, I believe, 870, or maybe it was 860. I'd have to check. But anyways, basically under where this consolidation is here. So let me show you that. Hold on. You know, basically like that's my zone where I think we could pull back and hit. And if we get underneath it, I'll tag, you know, I'll stop out in the green on the rest. So, you know, I've had obviously I took profits, you know, I mean, fuck, I took profits here and here. Definitely took profits again on some of the major some of the shit that I bought on the dip. So anyways, but yeah, watch this daily demand. I mean, it's huge, right? And this is the futures, and I do discount this a bit because you know they roll the contract price and it's like poof. You know, I mean, look at ES. Fucking uh, to me, it's just a you know, ES, you know, all-time highs, right? Well, of course, because they roll the contract, you know, and it shot up another fucking 50 points. So that's why I trade, you know, charting SPY and obviously SPX Oanda. I've been, you know, unfortunately, Oanda has been like $7 to $10 off, you know, leading the price of spot. But at the end of the day, the zones are still fire, right? I mean, this morning you have a legacy zone here on, you know, this white line underneath the gray zone. That gray zone's a daily zone. For anybody who doesn't know, the green is a weekly, right? These are weekly time frame supply zones that we've been interacting with. But these white zones, so this white dotted line, this white solid line, this white solid line are the legacy zones. And what have we done? We've literally come up and you know, everybody here knows these zones have been on this chart for, you know, long time, right? Like these, we didn't just put them in. What did we do? We pushed up, fucking hung out, you know, consolidated, boom, move up, chop a little bit. We eventually hit the zone. If you weren't trading time, you know, you weren't trading options, right? Or if you had enough time, like you just play the zone. I mean, we bounce, you know. I mean, we went zone to zone and then we fucking crashed. And what did we do? We pushed through this zone, right? We got the hourly close below. Okay, that was the 2 p.m. Candle. So that was at 3 o'clock, basically. You got that close, a little push with a retest of what? That zone liquidity. That's, you know, that's where it's at. And then boom, we fell down through. And there's also a little hourly demand here that you know, that falls in line with that. And again, it makes sense. All these things represent the same thing, right? Pools of liquidity. But it's how we can view them quickly and timely on a chart and make decisions based off of it. So, you know, this is just, but again, we went zone to zone with the bearish close, you know, the bearish indication, I guess you could say, and then continued down to the next zone and we bounced. And it's like, I'm going to buy in the zone, you know, if you look at the daily on this, where was it? Oh, I guess it wasn't this. Maybe it was SPY. But you know, there's no, again, this is this old supply here, this gray, but we already cleared through that, right? So yeah, this closed underneath it. But again, that's why the legacy zones are part of the plan, right? I know that there's liquidity here. That 9 EMA on the daily, as much as I fucking hate, you know, moving averages, you know, I mean, I don't hate them, but you know what I mean? Like I don't use them for much of anything, but the 9 EMA on the daily, and then obviously my other little ones that you guys know about. You know, it's like obviously most of them are just daily you know, SMAs, but the 9 EMA, man, that thing has been true to us multiple times. You know, with ES, NQ, fucking, you know, on the indices as well as like Tesla. Man, what was the other one that happened? Let's go look at some of these other trades today, though. I want to go over them. All right, Tesla, right? And you got to keep in mind this whole time, yeah, Tesla, 9 EMA, pulled back to it, bing, see ya. My bias has been bullish, right? Tentatively bullish. And I'm not, you know, I mean, I've been talking shit on Twitter just because I'm kind of like, whatever, that, you know, I'm not fed up with it, but I just like I post shit, dude, it gets like 300 views, you know, on the stuff. And I'm like, the app itself is just, it's fucked up. You know, I go on a space and you know, I get 50 followers, you know, which is whatever. But, you know, it's just like, you know, it gets some action, some, you know, return on investment. I put a post up with fucking charts and it gets like 600 views, you know, and it's just because of the way I think X shares it or doesn't share it. You know, it's just, and people don't, you know, analysis is boring. It's not as much fun. But anyway, so I've kind of been wiling out. But the bottom line is that I'm still very tentative, you know, that I mean, I know like there was a couple of moments today where I'm like, we don't fucking make this move up, we're going to roll over hard. And so we just mentally prepare for that. But I don't let the fear of it or the uncertainty kind of get into my head and overlay the fact that we still bounced off the 9 EMA. Something here like Tesla came down. I mean, obviously I should have bought it here yesterday, but whatever. It touched the legacy zone. We had this nice move up overnight, right? Opened into the pre-market, pretty much into this zone or around this. And we had these, this fucking dancing move. And I mean, I think I bought when it was still in this zone, maybe coming down, but I held it and it dipped down to this 9 EMA so damn fast. Where is it? It's gonna be, well, yeah, it'll be this, but that's a 5-minute candle, from here, dip, boom. And I mean, obviously, if you look at it on anything but the fucking 5-minute, because TradingView sucks. No, it doesn't suck, but it's basically a test of it, right? So, um, it just made sense. Now I was holding it and I'm okay with the position size. I also got next week's expiration, which, gives me some leeway and time. And it's obviously played out great. And I think it's still going to go. I did trim some of that into the close and then, but I'm ready. This thing, I want it to fucking make a move. I mean, if we can open up here or anywhere up here, they'll open in the money and there's still next week expiration. Booyah. You know what I mean? Let's fucking go. So, I posted that though. I don't know. I mean, I think Kim caught it. I don't know if anybody else caught the Tesla trade. Um, it was hairy. It was a little early, I guess you could say, because really we could have bought on many of these pullbacks when it held the zone. I'll tell you the one thing that really caught my eye is when we closed above the legacy zone. Um, I don't think I posted it when we did, but I remember seeing this close, right? It was, the 2 o'clock. We closed above it. We pulled back, kind of retested it. And if I wasn't already in the trade, that would have been a good time to get in. It's risky because, you're near the tops and we didn't know what the market was going to do. But again, feels like a bullish move. So, yeah, I like Tesla. So we'll just zoom out a little bit on it too. So these are the zones above, and then we can talk about the long-term trend that everybody wants to talk about. Dun, 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 dun. Here we are again at the long-term trend. Dun, dun, dun. Not quite there, but almost. All fucking most. I guess you could say maybe there's a trend line here. Did we break through it? Yeah, we did. And actually, that is a legit trend line. See how we have 1, 2 hits, top of the wicks. That was a little push through, pull back. We got the break through it. So again, I'm not leaving this shit on my charts. I don't, care. This I'll leave on because it's from all-time highs. But this is huge, right? If the market goes up, yeah, if we break into all-time highs and it's actually gonna be bullish, let's just say for the next 2 weeks, or maybe it's part, most of January. I don't know. Tesla's gonna fucking rip. You guys saw it already when it ripped with some of these reversals. So, this could easily make a move. And I know there's a lot of zones on that chart right there when we're looking at the weekly, but the weekly supply is up here in green, right? So 300 to 303.35. And as short as I was with Tesla before with the markets, I mean, I really thought it was going to go back down, but you can't argue with this price action. I mean, it's huge and it bounced and it rallied, and it's Tesla. So, no hard feelings. I just get on the right side of the trade and, keep moving forward. That's key. Don't make it personal, because it's easy with these stocks and with all the hype. You start thinking about all the things that people talk about with Elon and short and Twitter and, this and that. I mean, what did he say on this? And you think of it and it's like, it has nothing to do with trading Tesla. It's good to know what the news is doing, but honestly, just follow price and this thing will pay you in spades. And sometimes it'll fucking bend you over and, stick in your ass or something. But that does happen with Tesla, unfortunately. No. So yeah, anyways, if we get this breakout, I think 300's, is in sight, right? I'm not buying leaps or anything like that yet because, we're still like, I need to see the market participate. So anyways, that is with Tesla. Apple is a great one today. Know your EMs, right? Have them down. So we have daily demand here. I know I posted on Twitter. talk some shit about. Well, actually, not even talk shit. I use this as one of the examples of like the 3 easy strategies to make money, and I really want to I want to emphasize it and push it more in the chat, especially if I get some new folks in. Because it's like, hey, you guys don't all have to day trade, right? Like you can literally just focus on the EMs. I mean, SPY, SPX, we hit the EM, right? If you had bought a straddle there for the end of the week, even on SPY, right? You bought a strangler, straddle, whatever. Um, you made fucking bank because the puts went to town. You know what I mean? So like that's you can literally just play that. And it's not every week we're going to hit the expected move, but in this market nowadays, man, something's hitting the EM, a couple times a month. if not 4 times a month. So pretty wild shit. But anyways, that EM strategy is key, but also playing these daily zones, right? You get a pullback. This was perfect. I mean, we dipped on, what was that, Monday, right? Yeah, Monday. We dipped down on I think I was on that space. I even said we had the zone down here and the fucking demand. And yeah, there's a gap that got filled here, but why didn't it just stop at the gap? Well, it didn't. It went to the fucking liquidity, delineated by the this bearish candle here. So anyways, we dipped into that again today. Keep in mind, we dipped into it and we just got to close above. So that's a bullish close on Apple. Obviously Apple is, I mean, it's not strong right now, but at the same time, Apple will bounce back. But it also came down to the expected move. Now, yes, it dipped underneath it for not too long though, right? Like we dipped into it. It's also the legacy zone. That's why these are important to kind of look at the general structure. We're still inside this massive area of like weekly and these daily fucking zones. So I mean, it's just hard to be like, oh, Apple's gonna roll over. No, Apple needs to break like 191 to roll over, right? Like you need to break 191.50, let's just say. That's where you're fucked. That's when we're heading down. Because all this in between is just support or demand areas to reversal spots. So anyways, but EM, if you knew that was here, which I mean, obviously you guys did. If you were, I mean, I posted it in the chat. Obviously, the EMs are always posted. I always recommend having it on Apple, Microsoft, Tesla, SPY, QQQ, or SPX, whatever. Honestly, the Magnificent Seven, you should probably know where they're at. You don't have to mark them in yellow and go through all that, but you could put an alert easily, right? So if you had an alert at 194 on Apple, and if it went off and you were just out to lunch or sitting on the shitter or something at your house because you're not day trading, but hey, boom, the EM hit. Like Apple's down at the EM. What's this look like? Oh, it's holding a little bit. Let's go long, right? You could have just played that. I mean, I would still be holding it if it's kind of like the other bounces that I caught. I am going to hold it because I think that you'll see, even if it's just a slow drift up, whatever. I mean, you just, that's a big play on Apple. So anyways, that's the EM spiel. You guys know it. Maybe not everybody though that listens to this. Meta. Let's talk about Meta and Coin. Coin's gonna fucking Meta and Coin making money. Making me money. So we talked about this when we were right here. Right. And I talked about the fact that we had the daily. And look what happened here, guys, with Meta. We got the bullish daily close oversupply ready to fucking rock and roll. I hope this thing shoots up to fucking 360 tomorrow. I got a lot of Meta and a lot of Coin. Those were just solid plays. They stood out. I was convicted in it. I posted it, obviously. I didn't get the second fills or did I? I got one of the second fills on Meta, but not the, is that Meta? Yeah, I think not the later expiration. So, and I have January contracts, right? So I have the 5th and then the monthly, which I think is like the 19th or something. So, point being with this, what did I see, right? Well, at the time, I mean, I'm looking at Meta and I see that, it's holding in this uptrend here and it got the pullback. And I mean, there's a lot of fear, but at the same time, it's like we're coming back down. And I don't even have the EM up on this, I mean, I'm literally super sloppy this week, but well, fuck this last month, but It is, obviously normally I would have more data on the chart, but it doesn't really matter in this case because I know I have my legacy zones here, right? I know we're interacting with those, and the daily is huge. That daily supply is a big deal, and it stands out very strong because the next one up. Here, let me make that not so fucking stupid. The next one up is the all-time. No, I guess you have a little blip here, but basically there's a pretty big gap here. So this daily close over this supply here, pretty big deal on Meta. If we could see a nice run up, I mean, maybe we get 370 out of it. That's why I bought with some time. I just want to give it a little bit of room. Um, we'll see. Whatever. I don't want to talk too much ahead of myself because maybe futures open red and fucking dump. But that is a bullish close. So even if we get a pullback on these, right? Get Meta to pull back, down. Let's say it pulls back down to this, 349.81 area, 350. Like that's a buy, right? Even if it dips to 348, because you got the bullish signal here, you want to buy these pullbacks. That's a big fear factor, right? It's like, oh, is this? And it just comes from not having the confidence that comes from the experiences of having enough of these work out to be like, yeah, it's going to go. It's like the hourly close. I talked about this on SPX, right? Today. Which one was it? Or was it on Owanda's chart? We held, it was a bullish. Oh no, SPY. Yeah, I did talk about this. The SPY. Yeah. So, right, we held the hourly demand here. And yeah, this is, I mean, you could say this is the real demand, or the new demand, but like this was that area that we flushed through it, but we immediately came right back up over. So again, this is kind of one of those tricky areas. I just mark out both. Well, look where we ended up over. We were holding over, this 370.49 level. I mean, that's just fucking, I mean, it took a minute to get it, but once we got that bullish close over top, and we had noon, we had the 4-hour close, right? Where's that 8 a.m. candle? Right here. So this is the 8 a.m. candle. When we closed at noon, we pulled all the way back up to here. So yeah, you got to look at this and be like, well, yeah, dip down. It looks rough, but like that's your 4-hour demand. That was your 4-hour demand besides this massive drop, right? And we're not counting. This is different. Like, this is still where the liquidity sits because this happened so fast. It just blew out all the doors and probably the liquidity interests that are sitting here, they didn't get shook out or anything. They just didn't participate. It's kind of like a separate event, but anyways, that's your 4-hour demand. Or even if he's called support down here, you're still holding it, right? So like, it just everything looked good on SPY. And that's why when we dipped some more, not that, you couldn't make money on puts, right? It's like QQQ went to 370 or whatever. Don't quote me on that. What am I saying? Right? It went to, yeah, not 370. What were we talking about Q's going down to? Shit. Maybe it was 403. No, it was SPY. He had 470s. It must have been, yeah, 470s. I think Danny had 470 SPY puts, and those dipped, and he got paid on them if he closed them. If he took profits on it. And that's why it's important to take profits, leave runners, stop out in the green, fucking get back in the trade again. Instead of thinking like, hey, this is going to drop some more. The chart wasn't pointing to that, chart was pointing towards this being a demand area, an area to get bought up. So, and that's what happened. So, watch these hourly signals, right? You want to know where the hourly demand is. This is your demand, or it was before you had this massive flush, right? Technically, because again, you look below it, right? There's the next body of the bearish candle is way the fuck down here, right? Consecutively going back. And then you can argue which one in this area is the hourly demand. But as far as we're concerned up here, even though this thing has a long wick down, doesn't matter, the body's up here. This was our hourly demand. If you call this the hourly demand, which it technically is, you're going to see levels respected. And that's why once we got up in here, but and I can go on for days. I mean, this is the legacy zone on SPY. We've had these here for a while, I mean, this is the chart I don't even use that much, but it's still legit. And I mean, look at this price action inside of here. Consolidation, push up, comes right back down, tries the dip, comes back up. Fucking, we had an hour of nothing, right? 2 p.m. candle literally went nowhere. I don't know if you guys can see that. Like that was our 2 p.m. candle. That was our afternoon from 2 to 3. Fucking nothing. That's when I was like, man, if we break down here, we're gonna flush hard because we're not doing anything. But we hadn't flushed either, you know, and that's the other thing. Like if we were super bearish, if the market was bearish, like yeah, they want to grab liquidity, they want to fuck with the markets. That is something that's common. The thing is though that, you know, we had multiple opportunities to sell lower and we just didn't do it. You know, instead we bounced off the 9 EMA and also support areas and we came back up. And that's just not what you know, I mean, again, if we shouldn't have opened up higher like we did today, if this was a dead cat bounce, we would have opened, you know, maybe in here and fallen off or gap down, right? This is a whole fucking move right back up into, you know, into the zones. I mean, it was actually kind of impressive, the futures action. So so that keeps me going here. With that said, right, we still have weekly supply here. So we need to see that close 472.06, right? Basically 475 is what we want to see, but we at least need a close over 472 on the weekly. So I'll leave it to that. And actually, you know, this is something good, and we'll go over coin next too. Just briefly here. You know, SPY didn't hit the daily zone, right? But SPX tagged it perfectly. And that's SPX spot. And I mean, I look at SPX spot. I just don't post it a lot, but with Oanda being so fucked up, like it's hard for me to post. You know, I mean, I want people to understand the zones are still valid on the Oanda, you know, the Oanda price may be different, but these zones are fucking fire, right? Like the levels still are legit. So it's important to kind of watch this, or for me, like it's key that I watch this chart, even though I'm trading something that's trading fucking $7 less, you know, or $10 less. But it does take more to correlate it because normally it's never like that, right? And it's not every contract roll. It's just, I don't know, maybe the VIX expiration that we had and just the largest OPEX ever, I think was the last one. So maybe that has something to do with the way that Oanda, you know, why it gets so screwed up or why it's more screwed up now. But point being, I posted, you know, I still look at SPX, right? I want to know where spot price is. That's why it's always up here. Um, and it's good to know like where your daily zones are at, you know, where's your EM on this chart? This chart looks a lot different than this chart, right? I mean, it's the same, but it's, you know, you're closing on the half hours here. You have no, you know, after you, this is cash only price action, you know, closing on the half hour marks. I mean, it's about as different as you can get with the same, you know, with the same fucking price or the same data input. So, but it's good to know. But in the zones still show up about in the same place, right? Like you still have daily supply up here, right? You look at SPY, you still have wherever the fuck it went. You still have daily supply up here. So just get used to kind of like floating through a few of them to get a general trend. Trust where your charts are at or your zones are at. For me, that is Oanda all day long. But you know, I do want to know where these are. But like the legacy zones on the Oanda chart, this is this is my bread and butter, you know. SPY has been fire too. You know, the legacy zones here, we're running out of them, you know. So soon I'll be moving, you know, we'll start talking about you know, like the fib extensions. Um, you know, if we do get into price discovery, you know, it's a little more difficult and we'll probably do more swings. Like I'll trade intraday, but like I'm definitely going to be swinging long if we're just continuing to trend up, just buying the dips, you know, and maybe we'll trade some downside too. But if we get into, you know, all-time highs, SPY and QQQ continue up, it's, you know, you start using fib extensions on major pullbacks to get an idea of maybe where it can go. You know, some of the larger time frames. I don't know if I want to do it on this chart because it's so full, but you know, you can go on the weekly or monthly and pull up an extension, right? And get an idea of like, you know, let's just do this. So like, yeah, I think I'm gonna do that. Right. And then Yeah. So my fibs only are showing extensions right now. But so what I did there, right, is I had a fib. I started here and I went down to the low, right? That October low, from whatever, a couple, a year ago now. Um, and what that does is it, again, you would have your 618 retracement up in here somewhere, right? This is your point, your 1.0, right? So these are your extensions, 1.38, 1.5, 1.618. If we start to get really bullish, these are my main targets, guys. So SPY 530, yep, 545, yeah, maybe. 561, probably not, but fucking we'll ride it up there if it needs to. But I mean that's we'll do more of that if or when the time comes. I don't want to spend a ton of time. I mean, hopefully everybody you can look up what the extensions are. Obviously Fibonacci retracement is worthwhile. What else? What else do I want to talk about? Feels good though getting back in the market. That move today, man, I'll tell you what, it was a long time coming, it felt like. I mean, I was busy today doing other shit a lot of times, but still, like when we chopped around here and like that 2 o'clock hour where we just did nothing, we looked at that on SPY, but same thing, same here on SPX. We just kind of floated in and out. But again, we didn't sell off. So that is key. Like this alert that I have here, what was it? On Owanda, it's 47.25 basically, so whatever that would be, probably on SPX spot. But point being that it didn't, we never hit that. Like we didn't even break this hourly here. This had been the demand. We broke through it, came back up. We're holding right at it. And that's not, I mean, this is not, when you see an hourly close inside of this, right? That's like, oh, maybe that's a retest. But I mean, I was still long biased just because of the overall, everything that we've talked about. Just the fact of where we came off the lows, the market, and again, what did it do? It didn't sell back off, right? So what happened with this 2 o'clock candle? Well, on this chart, hopefully you guys can see this, right? This is your old demand. Okay, this is the liquidity as far as the hourly goes. Obviously, we have bigger time frames all around us, but this is that hourly demand that we came down, we held on top of, and then we puked, right? I'm trying not to blow it up too much. Anyways, when we pushed back up, we retested the top of that perfectly. Like that 40, what is that? 47.31 spot 6. What's the high here? 47.31 spot 7. We went 10 cents over this level and pulled back and closed that hour inside of it. So at that moment, I mean, it was kind of like, okay, like I still think we're going up because it just is more of a gut feeling, I guess, maybe everything coming together. But I'll tell you what, like that is shaky as fuck. Thank God that next hour, we moved all around. Like we looked like we were going to break out. We pulled back, but what did we do? We closed above that level. I mean, that's where these precise levels do come in. I mean, it's never guaranteed 100%, but these play out all the time, right? I mean, you get the close above. I mean, think about it. If you're a computer or an algo, or just some monster fucking quant, who might as well be an algo. I mean, how are you going to get your, if this is your liquidity, right? Like think about it common sense wise. If this is your liquidity block, which it obviously is, the way we come down, settle onto it, whatever, right? As soon as you see a bullish close above, right, on that same time frame, like it just makes sense. I don't know, like it just makes sense to me now, so much more than any other strategy. It's not even a strategy. It's just like the fucking chart. It's like reading the charts. Like that's just what it is. Anyways, got to pull back. Monster fucking rally. Love it to death. Mwah. Because I had 47.50s, 47.40s, 47.30s, and it was payday, baby. Because I got chopped the fuck up this morning. Although I was not in heavy because I was mobile, but still stupid, stupid, stupid. I wish let me see if I can find that real quick. It's probably not worth fucking around with, but let me find when I was there. I think it was this shit right here. Yeah. Yeah. 10 o'clock. I was going to be back by 10 o'clock. Didn't happen. I think we dropped here and it stopped me out, right? And I wasn't looking at this fucking chart enough. but we pulled back down, and I was like, I was like, no, I'm getting into puts, and we went right back up. And I think I grabbed calls before that, maybe I grabbed them after, but that's when I grabbed the Friday call, the Friday. I don't know. I remember being like, I'm just going to grab Friday expiration. So I posted in the chat, obviously, but if anybody really wants to dig it. But the thing is, like, that's frustrating as shit. And of course, I'm doing it from my phone, not seeing it live. Like signal was fine, but it still lags enough, and you got to switch back and forth between the broker and the fucking charts. So, anyways, that was frustrating, very choppy. So, really nice to have that erased and made up for by, much more structured price action, after we got the dip. And that is common. This is a familiar market. I was saying that to somebody in a post. I'm like, it's a familiar market because we know, like, anybody that's been around here, we've seen this play out many times where it should break out. Everything's set up to make a move up, and it doesn't. It smokes everybody, gets that pullback back down to, normally a pretty obvious support that's further than what I would personally like if I was in a position. And then it bounces and comes back up. And what do you bet? All those fucking calls that everybody got in here and stopped out down here, like, they went green by the end of the day. But that's not a trading strategy. Just buying and holding. I mean, it can be if you're pricing to zero, but you know what I mean? You can't do that every day. You have to manage your positions. And that's why this works for, the dealers. I think they're selling vol. They smoke you on the way down on the call side. They fucking run it right back up. So anyways, I'm really liking this market, though, I have to say. So, a little note: the ETF, or not ETF, the Elite Trader Fund, the prop firm that I've done some stuff with, they hit me up today. I got to reply to them still on X, but they're asking me like how it was going, da da da, and they wanted to do a giveaway for the group. So I'll get some details on that, and they'll give away a couple free accounts. And I say free accounts, like, it's probably it's the qualification part of it, right? Like, and it wasn't a trailing stop. It was going to be like end of day stop accounts, which is much more easier to manage for people, especially if you're not, yeah, I don't know, if you're not familiar with it. But really cool that they offered it. I didn't ask them at all. They just hit me up out of the blue, and said, hey, we want to do a giveaway with your group. So obviously our group is not huge, but I mean, who cares, right? So if you guys are interested in this, I know, like, Tommy, you obviously you and I have talked about prop firms and whatnot. But anybody listening to this recording, we'll chat about it more, and I'll try to get the word out even to people that aren't necessarily. It won't be right away. I'm sure it'll be a couple weeks because I want, like, a lot of people just aren't even here. Like, even our normal small crew is like MIA because I've been gone and it's the fucking holidays. I guess people take time off, but what is that? No. What am I saying? I took like a month off. Kind of. All right. So anyway, so keep an eye up for that. But that was pretty cool. I was pumped. I got to respond to him and say thanks because it was totally out of the blue. Like, hey, how you doing? How's it going with the fund? And actually, I have not been trading that account. The I shouldn't say I haven't been trading it. I've been trading a little bit here and there. I've not been focusing on that account. It's just not my main focus right now. My time, like, I just have been spread. But now I'm back. Like, we're moved in. I'm back from vacation. We're in the new house, and I have my office actually set up. So I'll probably get back into it soon enough. But Christmas is coming, so hopefully you all have a good Christmas. Obviously, we'll chat before that, but hopefully the holidays are not too stressful for everybody. Sometimes it has been in my past, to say the least. Christmas is it's fun with the family and shit, but it gets old, some of the stuff, at least in my life, my past. So, coin. Let's talk about coin real quick, and then I'll wrap this up. All right, so coin. This is a great example of this weekly, and this, I think I probably posted all this shit because I wanted to share the ideas. I feel bad because I've just been gone, but it's like I hate also posting half the idea, or I don't know, like, if I'm not watching price action enough, because, like, I can get in a trade And if I get tagged out and I take a little hit, that's fine. But if somebody's like, oh, he's taking SPX calls here, and it's like, I don't know. Like I'm not sitting in front of the computer like seeing the whole thing. So I hate posting some of it. But today was great because I had some really clear, some key things came up. So, anyways, coin, weekly supply is up here. This is if you're not familiar with that, right? We're looking for the dominant bullish candle. So the highest closing bullish candle in an area, a price range of, a price action. So in this whole area, this would be this candle here, snap lines on the body, and boom, it all makes sense, right? The reason I say it all makes sense is we didn't get another bullish close above it, which of course is how we defined this candle. So yeah, it makes sense. But think about it. Once this area was put in, it's determined to be the liquidity. You had a gap up here, but boom, it closed bearish back inside. Bearish close. What do? You get a retest and a week of downside. It bounces back up and up. It tries to go back in, right? It tries to beat this now, liquidity block, and it couldn't do it. Could not get a bullish close above it. And what happens? Sells the fuck off. See ya, and that was just the story of so many charts. But it is, again, like all the reasons that everything sold off, right? But it's right there in the charts. Like it's right there. Like if you were playing, if this is what you were playing, if this was our chart, like, oh, this is what just happened, right? And oh, maybe we opened green. Like this is your supply zone, right? Your next one is up here. If this is all you saw. So, it's like, and then what happens? Oh, we closed inside of it. Man, we got close. We closed inside of it. Boom. We just got to close underneath, right? And it's sell the fuck off. See ya. And really, this was the first signal. This is the retest, but whatever. You get my point. Like these are weekly candles. It's good to zoom out and just get an idea because the price is always going to point the way. But my point being with coin, I guess, is, we're not touching. Now we'll see what tomorrow brings. I don't think we're going to see coin run into this supply yet. I think that we'll see it close underneath it. And then I think going into next week, we'll see that push into it. And then we'll look for the close from there. I'm not saying it can't touch this and then pull back, but I just think that we're going to see, even if next week we see a little bit of pullback on coin or Bitcoin, I would still look for like 160 to hold, maybe even this 155, but I don't know if it'd go back that far or not. I think it's going to probably push up and touch the supply first, and then maybe it could pull back and then bounce, or just goes to the moon because ETF is coming out, right? Supposedly. I don't even know what to think about I mean, Bitcoin ETF, I think that they're I think it's definitely in the works, but I just don't trust the government to actually go through with it, right? Something not to come up and be like, yeah, we're not doing that again yet. I think they will eventually, but will it happen, even in the next like couple months? I don't know. But if it does, coin, I mean, people think it's priced in. Once Bitcoin takes off, this shit's going to go crazy. It'll be of its own. So let's look at a couple things on Bitcoin side. Mara. I have not looked at these charts at all. Ooh, look at that. Wow. Fuck, dude. I thought I looked at Mara and it wasn't doing what I thought. But I think I thunk it wrong. All right, so you have weekly supply here. That's supply. That would make this the next supply, right? This is the next bullish. We're going forward in time now, but that's just because we have an area identified. Anyways, the next bullish, next highest bullish closing candle would be this guy here, even though it looks very close to that. Actually, that here. So that's what we're approaching on Mara. But still, I mean, it still has room to go. Mara's cool because we can trade commons for so cheap. Like I can buy fucking a lot of these, It's not quite as cheap as some of the other ones, but yeah, fuck. I gotta remember to look at Mara. I'm not gonna. How am I gonna do that? I can just put a note. But yeah, there's no daily supply here either. Like the supply is up here. So I would say Mara's going to 28, 29. It's probably 30 realistically, but this should make a move in the next week. And you already had the red day, the bearish day. So like it doesn't look like anything. That's the thing, right? This was Mara, just Mara, of course, not SPX, but this was the big sell-off, right? It's just fucking it's getting more erect, it's more parabolic. That's nuts. But so maybe if we got to pull back down to like the 22s, 2150, obviously to the legacy zone would be a sweet spot to grab and go maybe in the future. So I'm going to put a nice fat alert right here. Oops. If I can fucking figure it out. All right. What's the other one? Hot. That's good. Breaking out. Crazy, man. I mean, it's crazy, right? So these I gotta pay attention to these more because there is I mean, what is that? Even if you just caught the fucking obvious support level down here, it's up almost 50%. I mean you can get, and I mean I'm down to trade options on this, but I'm talking like dumping, like 100 grand into, some shares on these dips. I mean, maybe not in this right now, but like just in, I want to like I got to do something with some of the money. I'm not buying a house right away, so fucking this market sucks. But well, that's not true. But anyways, yeah. Anyways, we'll look into these more, but keep an eye on the Bitcoin stuff because Bitcoin's going to go wild. I think we can look at Bitcoin real quick, give a quick rundown. And as far as tomorrow goes, right, guys? Probably should have said this in the beginning. It's literally just a continuation, right? We still have the same levels, right, on SPX. Like tomorrow, we're trying to end the week. We're looking at our weekly closes, right, on SPY and QQQ and IWM. But intraday, like we still have the expected move at 47.73. We still have that daily supply just above it up near 75 or 78, whatever that was. We have these areas that are key, but if we start ripping it up, or if we make a move overnight and gap up, I would expect it to break and SPX to go after 4,800. If it stalls and it's a flat fucking end of the week and they're just playing with us because, Monday's a holiday, maybe we go flat into the night, maybe we do get a little bit of a sell off, but if we just sell back off to the 9 EMA on the daily, like that's playtime, that's buy the dip scenario. So anyways, something to keep in mind. Bitcoin has been predictable and profitable. So I know not everybody trades cryptos, although I will say this, I think that you should get familiar with some of the cryptos because the altcoins they're already kind of going nuts, but there's like a couple people on X talked about this. So if we go to, what was it, total 3. Right. So total 3 is doing its thing. Let me make sure I'm looking at the right chart. Yeah. So total 3 is it's the crypto, right? Total market cap excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum. So it doesn't have doesn't include Bitcoin or Ethereum. So it's a really good look at the altcoin market. And look what happened the last couple days. It's getting massive breakouts, right? This is new money pouring into this. Look at the volume. Now again, it doesn't mean every altcoin, but I mean, these are huge markets, like and they're liquid, like you can be in and out. So don't be afraid of trading some crypto. Maybe get acquainted with, like Ask Bones, to hook you up with her link. You can get hooked into Bing, I think it is. Why can't I think right now? Anyways, you guys know what I'm talking about. It's a relatively, it's a good exchange to get into. You don't have to go crazy. You can try using Coinbase and like Robinhood has some of the stuff, but you don't get the leveraged effect. And trading, you trade these alts using leverage, quick in and out. You play money at first till you figure it out. You know, there's shit that we can talk about when we go down that road. I may actually have her do some stuff and do like a class with us, you know, because the altcoin market is crazy. And now it's already moving, but I mean, Bitcoin has the halving. Let me look at the other one here too. So total 3 is without Bitcoin or Ethereum. Total 2 is it just excludes Bitcoin. So this is including Ethereum. I mean, they look the same, right? Like they're just, I mean, this is stair stepping its way up. You had a nice flag, you know, pullback, consolidation, whatever, and you just got the pop and the daily closes above. Now, I'm not charting this like legit charting it, but you can just see, right? Like we're into new territory until you get up, you know, up higher here to the what is the 800s or 800 billion market cap. So this is total market cap, by the way, for all the altcoins and Ethereum, not including Bitcoin. So, and then you can have, I don't know if it's total 1 or just total. Let's see. Yeah, so it's total, what's total 1? Is there such a thing? No. Right. So it's just total, which is the total market cap. And again, these, you know, this gives you the total market cap. But again, look at this chart. You know, it is getting up near, you know, the same with Bitcoin, right? This looks a lot like Bitcoin, basically. But it just gives you an idea. It's not Bitcoin by itself. This includes it. So it's very dominant. But yeah, you look at like total 2, total 3, it'll give you an idea of what's going on in the background. And some of these things, I mean, if they, you know, you can fucking 3x your cash. I mean, you don't have to put a ton of money into it, but there are opportunities out here. So we're going to dig into that coming into the new year as well. It's kind of my backup plan. I know I've mentioned it. Well, I don't know if I mentioned it to everyone, but you know, if we move into the new year and it, you know, the first few months of the year are fucking flat or annoying and choppy in the equity markets, I'm going to be looking, you know, maybe we'll trade more futures. Definitely going to be trading altcoins if they're running because it's like free money. You know, you don't have to put down a lot. You know, if you have 20x leverage or 50x leverage on something, like you don't have to put a lot of money in, you know, you're not trying to gamble and like blow your whole fucking account up by over leveraging. It's a different game because you're in and out, right? You have to leverage these trades to really make it worthwhile. But that's how you see like, you know, 500% gains on a small Bitcoin move that like Bones will post, you know, on Twitter. It's using leverage, but again, you don't, I mean, there's crazy leverage like 100x. I think there's like 150x. You don't have to do that. You can do 20x leverage, 30x leverage, right? Little things like that. Anyways, it's confusing unless you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, we can get into that more later. So, anyways, that's what's going on though with the crypto market. It's worth paying attention to. And I chose the wrong one. Ding, that's the one we want. All right, so daily closes have been good. We closed over that supply. We came back down, tested these daily liquidity zones. I mean, the next one's up here. It's going to 46, right? I really think it's going to hit 50 before we see something else. And if things go wild, like if that ETF comes out, like that's something where like if it came out overnight, right? Positive news on it, you would go to bed here and you'd wake up 2 hours later up here. You know, fucking stupid prices, but that's your weekly supply. It makes sense. Bitcoin hits it. The next supply is up here. All right, I'll leave it at that. I think that covers, I mean, it's just a general rundown. It wasn't a ton on zones, although it's what we're looking at. So hopefully people that are new or just, you know, that you're not sure about the zones, you know, the colors are just time frames. It's the dominant candles, except for the white zones. Those are the legacy zones. Those are, you know, I look on the 4-hour chart and I just look at price action. And that's, you know, it's a little bit harder, although it's not impossible. And once you just start doing it and it starts working and you're like, oh, this is, why don't I just trade from this zone to that zone? All right, guys, I'm going to wrap this up and you guys have a good night. Hopefully the day has been decent. This week has been decent, or you've been sitting out and just waiting for some sanity. Either way, it's probably a good call. Tomorrow, let's just end on this. Tomorrow, SPX, right? Bottom line is these are our zones, white zones, right? White to white. Yeah, there's a dotted green there, but that's because it's, you know, fucking fractal and makes sense. But anyways, that is a legacy zone to the legacy zone. So we are currently holding over top of this, right? Even though the SPX spot is different price than this is still valid, right? These candles. So if we are opening over, on to 47.35, I mean, really over any of this here, but if we're sitting on top of the zone, I fully expect to go see that's 47.80, so you can say 47.75 to 47.90, spot price. That would push us into that daily supply up above. So I think that is more than likely the case. I think we'll push up. I think we'll probably see 4,800 if unless like we're just stalled out and flat. I think when we get up close to that 4,800 or touch it, it's going to drop like a fucking hammer back down, just to some of these same levels here. And then we'll close out the week that way, all up in arms, and then go into next week bullish. So it's going to be hard to swing anything but runners or positions that are already up if we close the week, at what am I doing? At daily supply at all-time highs, right? Like that's going to be difficult. Like you're not trying to take a swing when we push up but we will take a look tomorrow and see if we actually tag the supply zone where it looks like we're going to go. And I will be paying attention to SPX spot, obviously, with this, the daily supply up above. So, all right, that should do it. Yeah, if you guys have any questions, whatever, I'll be around tomorrow, of course. The kids are off, but I plan on being around like in the morning and then, whatever. Fucking I don't know if I'll trade like all day, but whatever. I plan on trading in the morning, being around, and then going from there. Shit, was today Thursday? Can't remember. I think I missed Wolf Space this morning. Completely fucking no, I don't know. I didn't see an invite from him. But I thought I was on the Thursday one. I don't know. Anyways, all good. Um, Tomorrow's Friday, right? Yeah, fuck. I don't know. My days are all screwed up. All right, guys, have a good night. We will talk in the morning. I'm gonna go get some sleep and we'll go from there. But today was a great day. It was tough, but it paid off by just being patient, having, persistence or, conviction, I guess, just watching price and not being over leveraged. Like once I was felt more confident, that's when I got into coin. That's when I got into, Meta. Um, I added more contracts on, but I mean, I had Tesla. I held that through the morning chop and those Friday calls that paid off, but I got chopped out of calls and puts, it was fucking nasty. It's like dicing my fingertips off or something. So anyways, not a perfect day, but it ended up great, right? Ran it up exact. I mean, just fucking played these zones like magic. Like even this, like the last hour, and I'm gonna leave it at this, but this is the 230 candle, right? 230, right? Close here. What do? You open here at 3:30 and you have a half hour push here. Even if you just got this is it. You waited all day for the right setup and you're like, hourly supply, hourly demand, maybe dip. I don't know. I don't know. Close above. Oh, it dipped. It went up. I can't buy it here. You got the bullish close here. You buy the fucking retest and you still made money. You could have caught, you caught 47.38, to 47.7 or 47.45. I mean, a 7-point move on SPX will make your day beautiful, So, anyways, other things to trade besides SPX, but that point being the moves are there. We just got to know how to catch them and when to wait for them, which is not my strong suit. Because you see, I take trades at target like a fucking idiot and get my fingertips chopped off. So, all right, guys, have a great night. See you in the morning.